Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to Soul or welcome back to Soul. I am so happy that you're here. Today, I want to talk about something that is really important. And I'm going to give you the example of asking for directions on the streets of Cairo in Egypt. Many times, I'm wandering around a certain neighborhood that has very confusing street names because they don't have street names, they have street numbers, which, is very confusing. But there is, for some reason, this unspoken rule of when someone stops to ask you for directions, you have to give them directions. So oftentimes what happens is every time I go to this neighborhood, let's say my Google Maps isn't working or I'm a little bit confused by where I want to be, I'll ask for directions and the person I ask will always give me directions. Now, the problem with that is that oftentimes the person giving me directions is not actually from the neighborhood and therefore has no idea what they're talking about, and I end up even more lost. That was definitely the case in the pre-GPS and Google Maps days. Thankfully, those days are over. But this is really what I want to focus on, and it's how we approach things we don't know much about. The easiest thing the person I ask could say is, "Sorry, I'm not sure." And so I'll go on to the next person. Now, this topic actually came to mind after someone recently asked me my opinion on a social issue, and honestly, I had never really thought about it before. We were having breakfast and I froze and I just looked at my friend and I said, I never actually thought about this. And it's one of those bits and pieces where little pressures will bubble up where you kind of want to have something smart or insightful to say. But I remembered something that I'm really grateful to have learned at work in my 9 to 5 as opposed to this little thing, which is my 5 to 9. Especially through learning how to be a good salesperson or just commercially inclined in general. So one of the most important lessons they teach you is don't BS. Excuse my language. In plain English, all that means is if you don't know something, it's totally fine to say that you don't know. It's better, so much better, to admit that you need to check or research or to think more about it than to pretend you know and risk either spreading misinformation or false confidence, or also saying something that maybe does not actually represent who you are. It's a critical skill, and it's how we build ourselves into better, more trustworthy individuals. Better individuals are our best selves, which again is the goal of this little Food for Thought podcast, and also how we contribute to a better, more honest society. Now, I do want to take a quick note and shift to talking about the social and political issues, especially when they touch on things that are really, really critical. Think like human rights, right? Do you have the right to breathe? There's always something even more important to remember. While it's okay to not have an opinion right away, it's not okay to stay uninformed forever. We also have a responsibility to ourselves and to each other to form opinions that are thoughtful, informed, and inclusive. And here's the important bit, right? Here's the catch. We can't cherry pick what we care about. If you stand for human rights, you stand for all human rights, not just the ones that are convenient, popular, or beneficial to you or your community. It's hard, right? It's messy, but that's the work, that's growth. And when you do enter conversations, debates, even if you're just chit-chatting with friends over which Kardashian is the most natural? I don't know why I used that example. I invite you to also set one little intention before you speak. Tell yourself, I am open to changing my mind. And I'll tell you why this is really important. It sounds really simple, but it will completely shift the energy you bring to a conversation. You'll find yourself being less defensive, you'll listen more, and you'll allow new ideas in. Now, bear in mind, you don't also have to agree with 100% of what the other person is saying, but you will likely agree a little bit. I remember speaking to a friend of mine that a lot of people consider her to be quite a conspiracy theorist, but I have to admit, I always have the best conversations with her because I always tell myself, while I don't agree with everything she's saying, I am open to changing my mind. And there's so many things that I've actually learned from her because part of the research that she does leads you to actually looking at things that are so important. I ended up learning so much about gut health and about the chemicals that are in the shampoo I was using. And I've got eczema. I think I've spoken about it before. And so by reducing that or changing that or removing that from the products that I was using, I actually realized how much of a difference it makes. Going for organic foods, right? Sometimes someone will say something that will even light a fire in you. And that new belief may become a deep, integral part of who you are. So, quick wrapping up of what we've learned today. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's important to care fully and not conditionally when it comes to the big things. And it's powerful to stay open to changing your mind, because that is how we build better selves. And that's how together we build a better world. Now, as absolutely everything that we learn, it's always step by step, day by day. Thank you so much for listening today. If this resonates with you, or if you have a story about a time, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to comment, reach out to me on Instagram, or also send us fan mail. We're big fans. And by we, I mean just me. Stay curious, stay kind, and I will see you next week on Soul.